Hello everyone, my name is Mkhwanazi and welcome to the Iron Bars, my true crime YouTube channel. So without further ado, let's get into the video. But before we get into the video, guys, please smash me the like button because it helps the channel to grow. Secondly, please, if you're watching from outside of being subscribed, please do consider subscribing. And don't forget to click the bell notification so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. So let's get into today's video. I am going to be talking about Sifiso Mkhwanazi. This is a request that everybody has been submitting, like, please do Sifiso Mkhwanazi, please do Sifiso Mkhwanazi. Okay, it was a case that I wasn't particularly familiar with because I did not know it was actually happening. This is a young man, a 21-year-old young man that has allegedly killed 6 women. So now I tried to dig deep into his background. I haven't found anything yet. I guess the reason why I haven't found anything yet is because the psychologists haven't met with him yet to drop this type of information about his upbringing and things like that. However, I do know that he lives with his father, and the father owns a mechanic type of business where he and his father worked together. But from what I understand, when he was about 18 years old or so, or even much earlier than that, he was accused of forcing himself on a woman who, by the way, he says she was a prostitute. So he solicited her services and then he took her home. And after doing the deed, the lady then decided to raise the price. It was not the price that they had agreed on. So that got him so angry and basically said he was not going to pay her. And apparently this lady then went to the police and then she reported that he had forced himself on her. Of course, he was arrested, prosecuted, and was found guilty. And I think he spent a few months in prison. I'm not quite sure what actually let him out early, because in South Africa, a forcing yourself on a person case, once you are convicted, it is up to 15 years imprisonment. So I'm not quite sure why he spent about 10 months in prison. But when he came back from prison, this young man, instead of learning his lesson and going and getting a proper girlfriend, the way many people do their relationships, he then continues to buy more prostitutes or solicit services from prostitutes. And every time he takes them home, he ends up killing them. 6 of them. Thus far, I would say he is an alleged serial killer. Because in South Africa, once you've killed more than one person, the second person, you are now rendered a serial killer. So the details of this case are still sketchy because the case is still ongoing in court right now. There are some admissions that were done by his father, and there are other admissions that have been, and there are other denials that Sifiso Mkhwanazi has made. Now, how he was eventually caught this time around. So apparently, he got himself a prostitute, brought her home, and then did whatever he did with her, and then he killed her. Now, he took her body and stashed it in a drum in his father's workshop where he fixes cars and all of that stuff. So apparently the workers of this workshop, now this is his father's employees, they would cry or complain about a funky smell that is coming in their workshop. And of course, they would brush it off as though there was an animal that died, a cat that died or something. That is Sifiso who would say that. So one day there was a complaint, I think, from next door neighbor who said, no, there's this stench that is coming from this side, basically complaining to the landlord. Now, the landlord decided to do some investigations of his own during the night, and then he found these 3 drums. And then in the 3 drums, when he opened the first one, the smell was so bad, it knocked him out. So, of course, he did see a limb of what looked like a human limb, and then that's when he called the police. When the police came, this is when they discovered that a whole human being was stashed in that drum. Little did they know that there were 5 other women that were in other drums as well. These drums were filled with like old used oil. They were just dumped there. And he thought that the oil was going to kill the smell or the decay of the bodies. And that is how it was discovered. Also, Sifiso's father once spoke to him about the stench, and he said he was going to take care of it. But eventually, he did confess to his father that he accidentally killed a woman and stashed her in the drum. This is according to the father's testimony. Now, as I understand it, because Sifiso Mkhwanazi denies that he ever told his father of this, and as a result, currently, I think the trial has gone into a trial within a trial, where the confession of the father is going to be tested, whether that confession by Sifiso's father was done freely, voluntary, and without undue influence. And basically, that's the requirement of a trial within a trial for that statement to be admissible into evidence during the main trial. So I think this is where we're at. However, though, I did come across a Sunday Times, a newspaper article about this matter. So one of the deceased sister spoke to the Sunday Times, and the story was compiled by Sakiseni Kumalo and Hendrik Henker. So basically, this is what it says. Joyce Moyo dreamed of a better life for her 3 children. So she made a bold move, leaving her home in Zimbabwe to find work in South Africa. But it all went horribly wrong, and her children, aged 14, 11, and 8, will never see their mother again. Moyo was one of the 6 murdered women whose bodies were discovered in a panel beating shop in the Joburg CBD last year, in varying stages of decomposition. This week, the trial against Sifiso Mkhwanazi, 21, began in the Palm Ridge District Court. Mkhwanazi was arrested last year, October, and charged with 6 counts of murder, 7 of forcing himself, 6 of defeating or obstructing the administration of justice, robbery with aggravating circumstances, and unlawful possession of a firearm and ammunition. 2 of the victims have not yet been identified. He must rot in jail, Moyo's younger sister, Grace Moyo, told the Sunday Times from her home near Beitbridge in Zimbabwe. But still, there is no amount of imprisonment that will make us forgive him or forget what he did. He deprived my sister's children of a better life. It's hard. I'm now left with the responsibility of looking after her children and mine, yet I'm not working. Joyce was a sole breadwinner, and the reason she left for South Africa was because she could see that we were struggling. Grace said the family was still finding it difficult to accept her death. She said her sister had moved to South Africa some years ago. Joyce told us that she was working as a security guard and would send money to the family every month. Grace does piecemeal jobs to put food on the table. She travels between Zimbabwe and Tembisa on the East Rand to secure work. Joyce was able to send money every month, and that helped a lot. Joyce's life in Johannesburg is still a mystery to the family. The 4 identified victims have been confirmed as being sex workers in the area. All we know was that she was a security guard at one of the companies in Johannesburg, Grace said. The reason why I'm reading this story is because sometimes it's very important to understand that the victim had a family, had a life, had children if they had children. So it's very important as well to give background about the one of the victims. And here the victim is Joyce Moyo from Zimbabwe. As I continue reading, at the time of her murder, Joyce was living in Sophiatown while Grace was living in Tembisa. We used to speak every day. After one day went by without speaking to her, I tried calling, but no one picked up. I sent WhatsApp messages and it was delivered but not read. On the 3rd day, I decided to check up on her at her place. When I got there, her neighbors told me she had left 3 days earlier, about 6 p.m. and never returned. I opened a case with the police. Days went by and I got a call on October 9th from a lady who told me there had been girls found dead at a building and my sister could be there. I went there and found out that my sister had passed away. I hoped it was a case of mistaken identity. We were really shocked, and the death took a toll on the family, especially her oldest child. She is doing Form 5. What is Form 5 again? And her marks have dropped since her mother's death. This man has caused serious damage to our family. I am so sorry, y'all. We hope he will be punished for his crimes. Most of the testimony in court this week centered on Mkhwanazi's confession to his father, Mark Khumalo, who owned the business where the bodies were found. Mkhwanazi claimed he had been coerced into confessing. In his confession, he said he had smothered 5 women and shot the 6th one. Khumalo is a witness in the case. On Friday, the court ruled that confession was admissible. Also, the trial within a trial was very quick then, since the confession was admissible. The confession that took place between Mkhwanazi and Khumalo was made freely without any influence, Judge Kasim Musa ruled. Katlego Risibitse, the national organizer of Sisonke and National Movement for Sex Workers, cautioned people against assuming all of Mkhwanazi's victims had been sex workers. The 4 who were identified had been confirmed as such, but the other 2 could have accidentally crossed paths with their killer. We believe that calling all the victims sex workers might make family members hesitate to come forward and claim their loved ones. That's the end of the article. I agree with the last part, that not all of them. I think it's also, even though that was the job that they were doing, but you know, the stigma around sex workers, prostitution, and things like that. I think they should just said they were working other jobs, so that you can still give them some kind of dignity. So I think, yeah, dignity still needs to be given to all the women rather than labeling them as sex workers. Yes, probably, what's his name, Sifiso Mkhwanazi went and approached the lady, and maybe he liked the lady, maybe the lady liked him back and thought, okay, let's go home. Maybe the lady was expecting something in return, because today's relationships, unfortunately, it is a transaction. It's no longer about love and puppy love and exchanging gifts and all of that stuff. Now it is, I give you this, you give me that. So possibly it could have been that. I'm not saying they were not sex workers, but for the sake of their dignity, I agree with the last part of this organization that we should label them as such. Anyways, this is a very sad case. I am going to be following it all the way to the end, and I'm going to bring you updates as to what had happened. Earlier I said that currently is a trial within a trial to ascertain whether the confession was legit or not. Well, according to the article, the confession was admitted into evidence. So the father is now going to testify against his own son, which is going to be quite interesting to see as the trial unfolds. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Like I said, I'll be following this case as well, and I'll be posting it right here. When the case is all concluded and I know what the background of Sifiso Mkhwanazi, why is Mkhwanazi and his father is a Khumalo, we will get to understand all of that. I'll get his birth date, his zodiac sign. You guys, you know how I like all of those things. And then we will have a full-on video about this certain trial. So I appreciate you for watching. Please do not leave without liking the video. Like I said, it triggers the algorithm to let the channel grow. Also, subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed yet, and then click the bell notification so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. And also leave me a comment down below and let me know, what do you think about this current case? Do you think I should pursue it and follow it up? I will gladly do that for you. Anyways, guys, share this video far and wide. I'll see you next time with a new video. Goodbye.